let's make a Docker container, I guess. It's just so we can run the Diesel CLI. Where do I want to do this? I might just create a separate folder so that because we don't want to pull in like a bunch of other files into that. So let's just make a folder. We'll do IE-sol. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll make a Docker file. Yeah. From something. What's going to be the easiest thing here? Let's see. So it's interesting. Think about this, right? So this is something where we're going to need a container that has. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Set up a build environment for Rust to run cargo install Diesel CLI. Welcome back. You got back at a good time. I just come back as well. And then yeah, copy the binary into a new container is, I think, effectively what I want to do. I don't know if that's actually going to work the way Oh, there's a Rust. Hold on, is that the right? Probably just the latest. There we go. Now, is there a Rust image in Docker, or is that hallucination? Okay, it does exist. Interesting. So that looks to be the right thing. Cargo install Diesel CLI, no default features Postgres. And then, I mean, I don't know that we need, like, okay, so we've created the builder image, and then we want the image to actually run it in. I don't know that we need Debian. Could we do from like Alpine or something? Is that going to work, or is that going to cause problems? Also, what is the how to use this image? Rust. I want to give you a copy of the image I made for my project so bad. Well, it's multi-layer with cache. That sounds nice. You could put it in the Discord. So you don't need to reinstall the packages on every build, right? I mean, I assume when you say for your project, you don't mean a work thing that you wouldn't be able to share. I'm assuming. Oh, hey, look, there's an example here, right? Cargo install. Oh, it is a work thing? Okay, well, we'll make something from scratch. Work.dir. I don't need to do this part here because I'm not trying to make something to run my code. I just want the Diesel CLI. If you switch to using the Alpine-based Rust image, what does it mean? Hold on, can we just look at... No. Is it the slim ones? Oh, there are Alpine. Okay. Can we do that? I'm just gonna let Copilot do its thing for a minute and see. Oh yeah, sure. So here's a question. How's this gonna work? I guess I do need to add. Let's see. I can make a service that doesn't start by default. Cargo chef. Okay. I will in just a second. As soon as I can remember how to spell diesel. Let's see. Use that to build the image. Let's see here. How do I... I just can't remember anything about how to do anything. Oh yeah, that's real helpful. But yeah, basically I want a... What do I want? I want to have a container that runs that will be able to talk to the DB. What am I looking for? I'll know it when I see it. So specifically, I don't have an image yet. I want to tell it to just use diesel CLI, the Docker file there. I just don't remember the word. To if they're on the same network. Yeah, I guess okay. Let's not do this then. I think you're right and that it's not necessary. Let's do this. So I should just be able to go into diesel CLI. Docker build -t. Yeah, yep, the old way. Okay, it helps if I spell it right. Generally speaking. Now, will this even work? I don't know. I mean, this is literally AI generated code, right? The only thing that I provided was the comment at the top, and then I chose Alpine here instead of whatever I was going to use, which I think was a Debian version. It's already in the Rust image. Well, fine. Cool. Let's try it then. So then we don't even need that, right? If we do that. I guess we'll know because this will succeed. how is this going to work? Like, how do I want to tell it how to find... Let's see. Okay, I think things I need to do. Workdir app. And then, let's build that again. There we go. So then, in this directory, I could do docker run. What did I call it? Diesel CLI. So I would map the current directory to the app directory, which is the working directory, which means that this .env file will be visible and available, which has localhost 5432. Hey, US local bin diesel, no such file or directory. Great, perfect. This was not sufficient. This was not sufficient to make it work. It needs to be absolute. Maybe. It's not gonna matter. Is that even a thing in PowerShell? Hold on. Hey, all right. Consider using, yeah, there we go. Yeah, same problem though, which is that, so presumably this file is like a shell script that calls something else. And so we're missing the thing. Okay. So let's think about this for a second. What if I were just to do this? From Rust, run cargo install, workdir, right? So this should work. And then we can take a look at what is actually installed in the image. Images, this one. Can we okay, I don't care about this thing that you're doing. Oh, I guess this is not clickable. And neither is this. Okay, great. Let's run it. Okay, I'll just do it from the command line since I already have the commands. So this should at least, yeah, we can actually see the output from Diesel. So that works, which is good. So that should mean that now I have a container, a new container that just exited. Can we view files? That's what I was looking for. All right, so in local bin, there's nothing. There's a cargo bin, and there's diesel. Okay, interesting. So that looks like it's a binary. So what I'm wondering is, I mean, okay, this works. I do wonder though, you know, when we start looking at actually wrapping like the APIs in a Docker container, we don't want to do it like this, right? Because we don't want the Rust compiler and whatever other build stuff that we install to be in the final image, right? Which is why you would have a separate builder layer or builder image, and then, you know, to do the stuff that's commented out right now. For now, this is fine, and I can actually like interact with Diesel, and maybe it can even, you know, reach the database. So let's find out. Specifies the database URL to connect to. So this .env file should be in test API, I think. There we go. Test API. Okay, and then lock schema, print verbose, print schema, print table definitions for database schema. So what does that do? Cannot connect to database. We are running the database, and it is on localhost, not HTTP, but localhost 5432. Yeah, 5432 5432. So how do I make it so that it can reach the database? Do I just need to refer to the service DB? Nope. Doesn't know about that, right? We're not running the command line as a service. I guess. Let's see. There is a bunch of extra containers. Let's see. So we have video processing project and lots of output. Okay, I didn't want to actually look at the image. Can I see? The network. So there's a video processing project default network. So do I believe there's something I need to pass to Docker run. I don't suppose it's -- network. Aha, it is. And then it just magically works. How about that? All right, so now here are all the tables generated from the database. Some of these things I don't care about. Most of these things I don't care about. The only things I really care about are the so transcription app transcription, and we can rename these, right? This is all just like Django conventions. You have stripped out the confidential things. Nice. Oh, you DM me. Base as chef. Cargo install, cargo chef. Cargo chef prepare. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm gonna probably copy and paste a bunch of this on stream anyway, so I'll just bring this over. Look at this. So we have a base stage. We can parameterize the Rust version, which is nice. A chef stage from base as chef. Run cargo, install cargo, chef. We have a planner stage. Interesting. So presumably somewhere there's a recipe.json. There's a build stage. So we copy a recipe. Oh wait, or is this producing a recipe? Is that what prepare does? And then we cook it. We copy things. Yes. Run tests if enabled. Cargo build release, and then looks like we have a Debian, a slim Debian runtime base, and then we do apt-get update, and then all of these things, and then set the user. So the file will remain unchanged if there's nothing new cargo-wise. Oh, that's what the recipe does? Right. Yeah, especially... yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and copy this for later. Because I don't think we're gonna get to all of that today. But Docker file. Brainless society. Yeah, due to certificates. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because we're gonna have just like a statically compiled executable or something, right? By the time we get to here, that we'll copy in the change me, and we'll see what it actually needs in terms of other things when we get there. Should be pretty bare bones, but I'll save this for later because I don't think we're gonna get to that today. I do just want to... Okay, so we did get this. And I just want to see... Oh, look at this. So there's all sorts of, like... it's extracted information about joins. Allow tables to appear in same query. That's all interesting. So let's go back to the Diesel docs. The user and the change me of that name. Yep. Yep, that all makes sense. I want to go back to Diesel. Here we go. Getting started. So the reason I wanted to run the CLI, I mean, there is a Diesel setup. Let's run the Diesel setup. See what that does. All right, so that made a migrations folder in test API. And we have a up and a down. All right. And we have a .keep. And diesel.toml. And there is a src schemas, a schema.rs. That we could have. And presumably if we copy the output from the last command here, that's what should go in there, I'm guessing. And I don't want most of this. And I will probably rename things. Let's see. Yep, all that goes away. And then all of this goes away. All right. Does it? next to generate it. Yeah, we want to put that text there because that is true. Sort of. So typically the schema module isn't created by hand. It gets generated by the Diesel CLI. When we ran Diesel setup, a file called diesel.toml was created, which tells Diesel to maintain a file for us. Okay. I need to... So I need to figure out what I'm doing here. So what I want to do... what do I want to do? So the thing is I have database tables already, right? I have database tables already that have data in them. How do I want to do this? So did this migration, so we can see it created this initial setup that created some functions and other internal bookkeeping. This file is safe to edit. Any future changes will be added to existing projects as new migrations. What does that mean? Huh. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, well anyway, I think that's enough of this for now. I need to think a little bit about what do I want to do with the existing database, and maybe play around with like the CLI and figure out how to do things without trashing it. I think probably, honestly, the easiest thing to do is going to be here. Let's make a new DB, or specify a different DB to use for developing this. Let's make a test API database, like a separate database for each thing. Going back at the very beginning of this, I mentioned the idea of like having microservices. One thing you don't want to do, generally speaking, so many generalities. One thing you don't want to, generally speaking, do with microservices is have them share a database and have part of the interface of your services be the database. Unless you're really prepared to be a DBA and have that be the interface to your service, which is an option. But generally speaking, if you're thinking about having like different services with different APIs, and those APIs being like having a contract between services that manage how you're defining these components, then you don't want to add a secret extra API that you also have to support, whether you mean to or not, that is the interface at the database between different services that are sharing the same, well, maybe starting with the same database model and then diverging, and then all sorts of problems. So let's assume we have a database called test API, and we can actually make that happen. Somewhere I have pgadmin. Let's create a new database. Call it test API, and that's good enough. Bam. Great. And then, so what happens if I run the Diesel setup again? Okay. Seems fine. That didn't change anything here. Good. Did that actually create anything inside of the test API database? Did we get those functions created? It is. Are there tables? Yeah, there's a __ diesel schema migrations. That makes sense to me. Having used Connects.js, there's a similar sort of like a table to manage, to keep track of what migrations have been applied in a database. So a similar sort of thing here, and we can see there's our initial migration that was applied and when it was applied. So that's good. That all makes sense. So what can we actually check in here? One thing I definitely want to do is in get ignore. We want to ignore .env files. What else should we ignore? Anything. Ignore Rust build things. Yeah, like target. There we go. So does that look? That seems reasonable. Why would you ignore Docker compose.yaml? The reason is because this right now is very specific to my local environment. It's not really intended to be general purpose yet. And I could manage the volumes elsewhere or do other things, but yeah, what you might want to do is to have an override, and that could be ignored. Can you compose Docker compose files? I think that's what you're hinting at, right? So if I had like a Docker compose local, is that what you mean? Local.yaml. Control I to ask GitHub Copilot chat. Create an override file for Docker compose.yaml. Oh, .override? No, I don't want that. Override? Oh, by default, Docker looks for this file and for YAML or YAML. But then you have to pass the -x file flag. So, I mean, presumably it will also accept YAML in addition to YML. Okay, so then conceivably, then we could do something like this. Thing is fine both ways. That's good. All right. In that case, I'll do override.yaml. So now, does this work? How does it work? Maybe I should just Google it. Docker compose override. Extend your compose file. Extend merge include. Okay. Merge and override. Mapping, sequence exceptions, unique resources. Override. This is all out of date, isn't it? V2? What version are we on? Merging rules. Yeah, V2. Yeah, it's confusing to me just because we're putting version 3 up here, but of course that's the version of the file format, not necessarily the command. I just updated Docker Engine, actually. Let me check something really quick. Oop. Okay. not added disk space yet. That's good. I got a terabyte free. So here's a compose.override.yaml. It reads the overrides automatically. V2 refers to Docker Compose. Before it was a Python thing, now it's a Go one. Full rewrite. Yep, exactly. For more merging rules, see merge and override in the Compose specification. Except this doesn't talk about that behavior around that. So let's do this. Let's assume that this is going to work. And let's see, we're not in the right folder. Docker compose -d. Yeah, we have orphan things. Because basically what I did, I still have in Video Processing Project the original Django thing with its Docker compose. And I've explicitly taken the same name for this. So this is assuming that set of services, and I've just left out the web and Celery container services out of it. So those things are still orphaned there. But this seems like it is fine. Let's see. So if we look here, can I see bind mounts? Video processing project. So basically, you say Docker compose any command will have a -- file flag by default. The flag takes both files. If you don't want the override, for example, you pass just the Docker compose.yaml. If you want the other, like a production override, you pass that in the command. Okay. Yeah, old stuff I don't care about. Can we see? How do we see? Oh, there's volumes. Created a long time ago. Status in use. Try the volumes Docker extension to backup, restore, and share volumes. Cool. You know, honestly, sometimes it's just easier to use the CLI. Docker PS. Could you Docker kill 455? Docker ls. Actually, Docker volumes. Volume. ls. No, I don't actually want to delete the volumes. I just want to make sure that. So what I did was I moved the versions of the volumes that refer to like the bind mounts to override. And so the volumes here just refer to the names. And I want to make sure like that this audio volume, see it says driver local. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Can I see more about inspect this? Okay, so that's still good. It's still bound to there. Great. That's just what I wanted to make sure. All right, so time just keeps on ticking. Okay, we got a git ignore. We have a Docker compose. Don't ship Postgres as your password for Postgres in production. PSA to do still here. Some other Docker files, cargo files, other things that I don't mind pushing into a public repository. Yeah, good. Okay, So backend test API progress so far is a a beautiful commit message. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right, so something different. It's been a long time since I have created a brand new. Also, I can stop the chatbot app. It's been quite a while since I have made a new React admin project. So let's see if this works. Do I want to install the following packages? React admin 4.14.3. Yeah. I think the last time I started a new React admin project was on version 2 something. I have since done like major version upgrades, but yeah. It's more fun starting a brand new one. So we're just going to call this test admin. And what are we going to do? So React admin is a React based administrative. It calls it a framework. I guess it sort of is. Yeah, so here's some like examples of, oh look, you can make a CRM, a media player, a help desk, an e-commerce admin, all sorts of things. And it provides kind of, yeah, I guess a framework is a fair way of putting it, that lets you then plug in a couple different things. One, you can configure the kinds of records that you're dealing with, and then you can also configure how to talk to an external data provider is the terminology they use. So here, this init is asking what kind of data provider we want to use. So we could, there's some built-in ones. So there's a fake REST, so just the client-side in-memory data provider that uses just the JSON object. So this would be great for getting started, just kind of experimenting with it. So we might go with that. And then there's also a JSON server and a simple REST data provider. BRB, all right. I'm not sure what this JSON server thing is about. Get a full fake REST API with 0 config in less than 30 seconds. Okay. So where's a data provider based on the JSON server API? I see. So we create, instead of having something in memory, we could create a little, a fake REST endpoint with a just a backing JSON file, and then you can interact with it. And you go to like post/1, and you get that record from posts with an ID of 1, and then it auto saves to your JSON file. So it's a very simple way of having an API to test things out with, and so that's kind of interesting. I think there's not really a point of worrying about that. So once we get the initial stuff set up, in terms of the information about the records we want to deal with in the UI, then we're going to want to start building an API to serve, to like basically CRUD endpoints for Postgres. If I was dealing with like more than a dozen different kinds of records, I might be more inclined to look for either some kind of code gen solution or some other framework for providing an API for interacting with the DB. But we don't have that many different kinds of records, right? So there are less than a dozen. That is the arbitrary threshold I've come up with for that. So, and then simple REST data provider is basically it is a data provider that's set up to expect you provided the base URL, and then it just expects that this is how the API will behave, and it's just either you have a REST API that already matches this behavior, or you're going to build something that matches it, right? And there are other data providers, like there's a GraphQL one, and there's a simple GraphQL one, and so these are just essentially adapters for React Admin to tell it how to translate a set of either getting a record or listing records or modifying a single record or what have you, and translating those types of requests into then some kind of call to an API endpoint, or in the case of fake REST, just doing it in memory. Since it is pluggable, like we can just change the data provider. I think I'll just go with fake REST to start with, because that'll be the easiest to set up, and so we're not wasting time like trying to set up this thing, JSON server, just to replace it later. So let's do that. And an auth provider. So we can add the auth provider later. In fact, I have, I think the last time I started a new project, we started without an auth provider, just like for local development, and then added that later. And that wasn't a problem. So I think we'll go with no auth provider. So auth provider is just another like adapter to provide to React Admin to say, how does it handle authentication? Like what gets triggered when you land in the app to check to see, is the user authenticated? How to send them somewhere to get authenticated? Those sorts of questions, and then tying in potentially to authorization as well. And we're using npm. So this should make a test admin folder. See how that goes. There we go. All right. Deprecated core.js, yada, yada, yada. Is that coming from React Admin, or, I mean, obviously, but maybe from one of its dependencies? All right, so let's check it out. So we'll go into test admin. I didn't give it an underscore. I did give it an underscore. Why did it use a dash? Test admin. Okay. Oh, it starts you off with another with a v config. That probably makes sense. npm run dev. All right, so we get a loading indicator. There we go, and we have some fake data, and so we have a basic UI, just like a CRUD UI, and we can probably click into records, and then we have so in React Admin, there's different essential kinds of views, right? So this is a list view because it's listing records. If you click into a record and it has like editable fields, this is an edit view. There's also there's also a show view, which is like a read-only view of a single record. There are like alternate views and other things you can do here. You can also have like bulk actions that can be performed. In the list view, you have pagination as well. You can have like actions like exporting. on the list view. If we had an auth provider, I think we could also have a thing for the user over here. And there's all sorts of like customizations of layout and things you can do to kind of break out of the defaults, in addition to like theming and stuff. And of course, you can define your own custom record types. In a way that's, there's a lot of overlap, right, between this and like something like Django in terms of like, at least for the use case that I was showing last time around, where I was just mainly concerned with like using the admin interface to manage records. This is kind of the front end aspect of that. We would still need a backend to actually interface with our database or other services, and that'll come later. So what we can do though is we can maybe look at this and look at customizing our admin to make it have the kinds of records we care about. And for reference, let me get PG admin over here, and we can look at tables. No, there weren't. So I created this video processing project database, I think, when I started working on the Django app, and then I must have misconfigured something because it made all the tables inside of Postgres instead. So that was an accident. So the here, columns, that's what I want to see here. So we have a few different tables, so a few different kinds of records that I want to be able to have in the admin. So we have, let's just collapse these down, right? So a video clip is like an actual video file, essentially, and the audio tracks along with it, that thing, right? So like whatever the format of the video files is that I have OBS recording. A video is then an amalgamation of all of the video clips from like a recording session / stream. Maybe this could be a stream. That might actually be a better name for this than a video. Maybe. And then an episode is, typically what I'm doing from the streams, and this whole thing is really meta, right? Because the whole idea of this project is to do with processing and managing all of these videos that I'm producing from the stream that is going on right now. So a little meta. But the episode is like, typically I take the stream and I turn it into multiple episodes. And then I have a transcription and transcription segment. I don't know if I'm going to have these as separate things in React admin. Yeah, we'll see. So let's do this. I'm going to put this over onto the, let's see, do we have enough room to see all that? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we'll do, there we go. Sort of. Can we shrink this way? There we go. And then put this up in the top right corner. There we go. All right, cool. So let's take a tour of our new test admin, right? So it is, it's a VOD project, apparently. We pulled in React 18, React Admin 4, React DOM, and RA Data Fake Rest. So this is the data provider that this is using. And then a bunch of other dev dependencies for Vite and TypeScript and all that stuff. We just get out of the box. We get prettier setup. It's very nice, actually. We have a README here that would tell you about fake rest. There's a data.json file in src. So this is the data that the admin is showing. So as we start working on the different record types, we'll probably want to update this to actually have data to see. Okay, and then, so what is this app? So we have index.tsx. That's just, it's like every React project, you'll have something like this. And we have an app component that we're rendering. And I think before we get there, so we have index.html. And this is just providing a wrapper to render into. Prettier config, TS config. Shouldn't be anything weird in here. Might be things we want to update in terms of like maybe target. Feet config. It's all good. vtenv.d.ts. Sure. There's a public folder. It's got a favicon and a manifest. So nothing too unusual. And so I think let's look at app.tsx and data provider. Data provider is going to be kind of boring. It's just using the fake Rust package to export a data provider, which is pulling the data from data.json. So it's just in-memory data storage just for kind of experimentation purposes. So everything is in app.tsx here. And this is really bare bones. I think it's interesting in a way. Like if this is your first introduction to React Admin, you'll be like, okay, well, that's great, but how is this going to be able to, how are you going to turn this into something that's going to be more than just a very simple CRUD interface for a few different kinds of records? And how are you going to do that is by, let me take a different tack. So we have an app component, and the app component here is just using this admin component from React Admin. If you're using React Admin, you are most likely going to have this admin component, which can be customized. It has a bunch of different props to override things like the layout component that's used, various other things, the theme, the auth provider. Like if we would have specified that we wanted to have an auth provider when we started, that presumably would have been generated in the template, and we would have like an auth provider here that would have, we would have like a separate file that will be implementing that, and we'd pass it in. So there's lots of points in this where it can be extended in various different ways. Now, with React Admin, the way that you're going to specify all the kinds of records that you can either list or view or edit or in any way interact with in the UI is with this resource component. So this is a way of declaring that this is a kind of resource that exists, and this is what like instruments and makes it possible to, for instance, let's see, if we were to say, let's start changing things up here. So we'll have a clip. Let's have a, how do I want to name these things? Video underscore clip, maybe, and then we'll have a stream, right? And so if I were to do something like this, it's going to complain because I'm not using the imports. And of course, the page that I'm on right there doesn't exist anymore. But if I go back to the top level page, you'll see that there's no navigation items, because you can't navigate into a resource if it doesn't have a list view. And by defining these resources without having a list, then that means the resource doesn't have a way to list that kind of thing. So we saw kind of by default, there was like a list guesser. Yeah, undefined collection. Can we go back to the top level? Undefined collection video. Oh, right. So I think in data.json, we need to specify video clip. And we'll really simple here, like that. There we go. And through the magic of the fake data provider, and defining that the list prop for this video clip resource is a list guesser, it looks at the data coming back from the data provider and generates the list view based on that. So that's what list guesser does, but we don't have to use list guesser. We can make our own custom list component for video clips. So then we can do the same thing with stream. So now we have video clips and streams, and then we just need to say, like, okay, a stream, we're gonna have, let's see, so like today's stream, 11:12, right? And then we probably need a way to link the video clip to the stream. So we do like stream ID 0. So you notice, well, I don't know if you can actually see that I'm clicking on this, right? But I am clicking on this right now, and it doesn't open anything. And in fact, if we go to video clips, I can click this, and this doesn't open anything either. I don't know what. Let's see, stream. That is interesting. Hold on. Let's explore this a little bit more. So undefined collection streams. Let's refresh. There we go. All right, and we actually see a few things in the console as well. So like, here's something neat, right? So we're using this list guesser to essentially generate the list view. And what we'll see in the console is actually, here is essentially what's being generated for the list guesser for the video clip, right? So when we're looking at this is like, we could copy and paste this into a file and import that and use that as the list instead of something else. For instance, so notice how there's this little warning thing here. It seems to be confused. Let's see. It's confused because it's generating a reference field, and it says the source is stream ID and reference is streams. So, but we don't have a resource named streams. We have a resource named stream. I wonder. I think this needs to be singular though. Like, this is not going to work for a couple of reasons. One is because our data would need to match. No, that still works, right? So that still has the right pluralization. So there are things that it will do for you automatically, but you don't have to accept that behavior. So for instance, if we didn't want the resource here to say video clips, let's say it got the pluralization wrong, we can change the title of the resource in options here. Label. Let's see, too many, there we go. There we go, now it's video clippies. As an example. So, yeah, so lots of possibilities here, right? So what I was saying before is that, like, we can't click on this. Like, you can see the URL change, like this is selected, but we can't go into like an edit or show view because there isn't an edit or show for video clips. So we could add that back, right? So we could just go back to how it was, where we have a edit guesser and show guesser, right? Show guesser, right? But you can also provide your own custom components either just extending the default components, like here in this example of this list component, it's just using the React admin list and data grid and these other fields. But there's many different ways these can be customized to be able to then extend that to do other things. So all of that customization aside, if we really want to just get something going that has all the different kinds of records we want to deal with, that becomes really easy, right? Because we can just say, okay, well, here's video clips and streams. And then what are the other things here? So we have transcription, 1, episode, 2, topic, 3. So we just need 3 more resources for right now anyway, I think. So we'll do episodes, and we'll do topics, and transcriptions. And suddenly, all that stuff appears. And we can actually populate this as well. We can be like, okay, I could have tags. Sure, I could have tags. It's kind of what topics are doing, actually, but that's neither here nor there. Episodes. Yeah, and episodes are tied to the stream. We'll add some other data elements here based on what the columns were in the original database. And then transcriptions. Which are typically tied to an episode and not a stream, I think. And then, so we have video, stream, video clip, episode, topic, and transcription. So that was it, right? Wait, something's missing. Oh, we didn't add topic. Topics. But topics are not tied. I mean, we could have, like, you could imagine the API returning, okay, for this topic, here are the episodes, like their IDs. But typically what you do when you are assuming you have control over the API that you're using to integrate with React admin, you design this a different way where you say, okay, well, the data for the stream will have a topic IDs, maybe something like that. That should be interesting, right? So then if we go to look at streams, it's interesting, right? So we can see, it's really neat. We can see the guest list. So here's the code that would generate this view for us for the list of streams. And you can see it's using a reference array field. It says source is topic IDs and reference topics. Yep. And for topics, yeah, so one of the things we would be able to change here is instead of showing the ID, we could have it show the title of the topic. So we would see, we could have like a list of chips here with the different topics here, and then those would also be clickable, navigatable to the topics themselves. Okay, so we have this. Let's go ahead and add the rest of the fields to kind of our sample data, and that'll make it really easy to then start implementing the actual views. Because what we should be able to do is really rapidly get back to kind of the set of front-end capabilities that we had in Django in terms of being able to navigate through the records. And then what will be needed will be to then build the API endpoints to interact with the DB and the other capabilities that we had built before in Python, and then making a data provider. Or maybe just using the REST data provider to do that. Since we're designing and building the API, we could just make it match kind of the out-of-the-box REST API behavior expected by that baked-in data provider the array data simple rest. Okay, so anyway, back to PG admin, and we can look at the transcription. So the transcription has a few different things in it. It does have an episode ID. It has a reviewed, which is going to be false. It's got a audio file. Yeah, let's pretend that it's in S3. Text file's interesting too. Do I want to make it a URL? I might, but probably not a URL that actually goes somewhere right now. I don't want to hit someone, a real bucket that might exist, and make a request. So let's do example.invalid/episodes. There we go. I don't think I want to have a text file. That's not really how this is going to work, actually. And then I do like having a created and updated at. Created at, yes, must be ISO 8601. This can be null if it's not been ever updated. And then what I want to do is, instead of having a separate resource for the transcription segments, I think what I want to do is I want to incorporate that data into the returned record. So I have like a segments list, like so. And then I don't think, I mean, we can include the transcription ID. I think that's kind of harmless. Start time and end time. I wonder if, what is the ISO 8601 duration format? It's kind of funny because to my right, on my other desk, I actually have a copy of the ISO 8601 standard, but Googling it is going to be a lot faster than paging through the loose paper. P3. So let's do this. So we're gonna do something like P3S 0. I wonder if that's valid. 10S. So what I'm saying is, in the first 10 seconds of the audio contained someone saying "Hello World." Is, I guess, that what that would represent. And then going back to PG admin, we don't need created or updated on the transcription segments because that won't be a separate database record. Start and end, text. Yeah, that's fine. That is fine. I don't know. I think that having those IDs there is perhaps a mistake. We'll see. Okay, so I think this is good for transcription and transcription segment. Let's get, I'm also going to add created and updated to all of the other example records. There we go, because all of them will have that. And then episodes typically have, so we'll also add a description. Sure. Created, updated at, start and end. So because the episode in the context of the stream has the time when it started and ended. Well, I say a time, but I think the duration more accurately captures the idea of an elapsed period of time from when the video of the stream started that the episode starts. And then the end is the same thing. It's a duration from the start of the stream to when the episode ended. And yeah, we're using stream ID here instead of video ID. Just some nomenclature change. And then topic, title, description, Yep. Don't need that trailing comma there. And then the stream, we want a couple of things here. We probably want a description. Sure. A thumbnail. Yep. Add an invalid URL. And then create an updated prefix. So the prefix is to allow for, like, generally all of the recordings for the, like, the video clips that make up the stream session have the same prefix because of how OBS generates them. So that's the help with that. And then speech audio track is going to be the extracted audio of me talking like I am now from the recording. And then we already have the topic IDs. Now, it's interesting, actually, because no, I guess that's fine. I think the original idea was that a stream would have a single topic. And I mean, typically that's conceptually true if you think of that like, oh, I'm playing this game or I'm doing coding, if that's a topic. But if I want to be more granular than that, then perhaps there are multiple topics. So I think having an array here will make sense. And then the clips. What other details do I want to capture in the video clip? So we don't need a description for the clips. That's overkill. So then we actually have like a clip, which is the actual like video URL. I think this will be interesting because I think in Postgres, if we were to look at the data that's there, that's just like a path. I think having a URL will be interesting because I will be able to make it so that it actually, I could have it route through something that could serve the media, but also represent the path in a way that could be parsed out and then used to do things. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then we have created and updated the stream ID is there. And then we want to also have the duration. Like, how long is the clip? So we'll say it's a 10-second clip. That's honestly, it should be more like a 20-minute clip. And then what does start represent here? Can we look at the data for this? View all rows. So here's the data for some stuff that I had imported from a while ago, from the end of last month. And so we have duration, and this is just like hours, minutes, seconds, and then start. What does start represent? I think that represents the actual time, which is weird. I think it should be more like start time, where it's the period of time, the duration, in other words, elapsed since the beginning of the stream that the video clip is part of. I think that makes more sense. All right, so now we've kind of ingested all of these data elements. So if we look here, we have a bunch of columns. So one of the things that we'll be able to do is have list views and show views and edit views, and have differing fields. Also do things like add a back button here. So like if we don't want to show all of the things, like I don't know that we need to see the ID or the clip URL or a bunch of other things, and we can change how things are presented and combine fields together. We can do that. But let me just quickly kind of click through here, and you can see where we're at. Now look, we get things like a fancy, oh, this is a Boolean, so it interpreted that as a Boolean field, and we get an X or a check mark. So cool. We get some things kind of out of the box by just providing some data, and then it kind of intuits the rest. Now that's not what we want long term. So let's talk about next steps. So let's take video clips as an example. Let's say we want to start with changing this list view to show less information. We probably just want to see the title. We want to see maybe when it was created and updated. Actually, video clips is kind of not a great example. We often are probably don't even want to look at the list of all the video clips. We probably want to start with the streams. Let's start with the streams. So the streams, we don't need to see all this information in the list view. We probably want to see a thumbnail, title, description, created and updated at. But there are things we want to change about this as well. We probably want to actually try to render the thumbnail if it's present as an image. I also misspelled speech because I always do. There we go. Ta-da. Okay, so how do we go about doing that? Like, how do we progress from just having this list builder or list guesser building the UI for us? Well, we could just create, like, we can literally copy and paste this code into a file and import it into app and do those things. We probably want to do some kind of organization, right? We're going to have a bunch of these. We're going to have, for each kind of record, we're going to have a customized list view, a show view, a edit view, maybe some other things. Maybe we want to have like a folder called resources. And then maybe we can have a folder called streams. Do we want to capitalize it? Nah. I think if we were making a component called streams and we had like index.tsx that was, you know, in the folder that was providing the component, maybe streams would be capitalized. But here streams represents that resource, which I've decided that I'm going to refer to in the plural, because that does make some of the auto-generated views work better. And I'm just going to create a file. I'm going to make a list.tsx, and I'm just going to paste this file, what I got from the console for this view, right into here. And then all I need to do in app.tsx is import that and use it, right? There are things you can do, because this is, you know, this is TypeScript, JSX, JavaScript. You know, this is code at the end of the day, right? So we can do things like, instead of having this declarative, these elements defining a resource, you could have a list of resources. Or you could have like index.ts in streams that define your resource. You could like import those somewhere. You could build a list and then iterate over it. Do like a map to make these resource elements here from that information. Like, there are all sorts of things you can do. But for now, we're going to keep it a little simpler until we have a specific need. And we're just going to import probably list. Did we export default? Yeah. We didn't export default. Do we want to export default? I think so, generally. Like if we want to do something fancier later, we can do that. So we can do import stream list from resources streams list, right? And then instead of using list guesser for streams, we'll use stream list. And if I refresh over here just to make sure we're current, nothing changes. It looks exactly the same because except we don't have that message in the console from list guesser. So instead, we can go back to here and we can start modifying the data grid for the list to show less stuff, right? So let's say we don't want to see prefix or speech audio track. We don't want to see the full description because that could be really long. We don't want to see the ID either. Save that and bam, it's much more compact. Now, I think, is there an image field? Looks like there maybe is. Let's use image field. Yeah, there we go. So if that URL actually was to an image, that would actually work. Yoink. All right, and then back to data.json. And so this is our stream thumbnail. We'll have a real URL here, I think, and there we go. Now we have a thumbnail, sort of. What props does this take? Can we, like, enforce the size? I bet we could probably... Maybe through... Nah, whatever, it's fine. I don't care. Alright, so that was a lot just to get back to a thing that doesn't do any of the stuff that we really had going on with the Django project. But I think that is going to be pretty much it for today, though. It's a start, right? Let me, before we end this, though, do a couple of things. Maybe we can find someone to raid. Is there anyone else doing web dev? Hey, a couple of people. Maybe we can raid someone. Let's see. Is this person? Oh, it's followers only chat. We're not gonna do that. Okay, maybe not web development then. Ooh, GC Fungus is doing some oxygen not included. Has nothing to do with dev. Alright, so ponder that for a little bit while we get all this stuff checked in, right? So we have our new test admin project. We could rename it at some point to be like admin, I don't know, for the project, but we should get all this checked in. Mostly this is stuff we got out of the box by running the npm init react admin command. So the data.json is going to go away, and this is going to change at some point. Before it does, we probably want to repeat that exercise of creating not just the list views, but the show and edit views for all of our different record types. And then we can start looking at like bulk changes, things we want to do, actions we want to implement in like a show or edit view or on the list view, all those sorts of things. Add test admin, React admin project. There we go. All right, so that's going to be pushed up to the new glowing Telegram project here on GitHub. So it's it is a public repo, right? Yeah, public. And we'll that should be good. So we got 36% Rust, 26% HTML, some TypeScript, some PLP, PG-SQL, some JavaScript. Oh right, we have in my local file all the old Django stuff, so there's some Python in there. Some of that's gonna get moved into we'll probably do like a test Python API or service worker or something. There's a bunch of stuff in the to-do as well, kind of touching on some of that. Well, there's a few things, less now. I guess I could update the to-do as well. And at some point, probably take this and start turning this into issues on the project rather than having a to-do file. But, you know, I'm making progress. All right. So, I think that's going to do it for the stream for today. Thanks so much for hanging out. And Brainless for your help with Docker, as always. I think, though, that it doesn't really look like there's any other web dev streams that I want to look like good raid targets. So I think probably just going to wrap it up here. All right. Next stream will be tomorrow after work. After my work, anyway. Doing some more modded Minecraft. So until then, take care. Bye-bye for now.